Hi, today we are going to start looking at how one generation can honor another generation after they have passed on. So we're going to take some time to look at the holiday of Dia de los Muertos, or the Day of the Dead, which is a Mexican holiday. And we're going to be looking at the movie Coco. It's a Disney Pixar movie, and we're going to actually watch a clip of it tomorrow, but today we're going to analyze whether or not they did Dia de los Muertos correctly. So I'm going to share my screen with you. You guys have just read this article. Did Disney Pixar get Day of the Dead celebrations right in its new film Coco? So what we're going to do, and I'm over on this left side of the screen, going to do some work over here, but we're going to answer that question. So we're just going to read through this article and look for evidence. That's a really important skill, to be able to just go through an article and find evidence to support one argument or another. So I'm just going to title it the title of the article. So, did Disney Pixar get Day of the Dead celebrations right? In its new film, Coco. And we know that the rest of the title is Smithsonian folklorist Cynthia Vidari says it's complicated, which tells us immediately that the answer is both yes, they did, and no, they didn't. I personally think it's important to go ahead and practice writing in these complete sentences. So instead of just saying yes and no, we would answer the question in a complete sentence. So I'm going to do that for yes, and then I'm going to have you guys do that for no. So I'm going to say Disney Pixar. I'm going to shorten that to DP just to save time. Got the portrayal of Day of the Dead, DOTD, correct, in the film Coco. Now I want you guys to go ahead and write a sentence that answers it the opposite way. No, they did not. All right, once you guys are done with that, as I said, you guys have already read through this article. So you know that the very first part of it really just gives some intro on what Day of the Dead is and what the movie Coco is about. And it doesn't really start to answer the questions until it says, so here's the big question, did Disney Pixar get it right? And then it starts asking a bunch of other questions. But there was one detail that I thought I could make a case for, and that is on this first page. It's the second paragraph, and it says, the film draws its cultural inspiration from several Mexican variations of this tradition. And it goes on to say, which also happen to be those most commonly found in the United States. So I'm going to put that on my chart to trace the evidence, and I'm thinking the film draws its cultural inspiration from several Mexican variations of this tradition. Says I could make an argument that that means that they got the portrayal correctly because they based it on actual cultural history. So I'm going to say this under yes. The film draws its cultural inspiration from several Mexican variations of this tradition. And I'm going to end it with ... because that's not the end of the sentence. And then what's really important is that even though I know why that answers the question, did Disney Pixar get Day of the Dead celebrations right in its new film Coco, I need to make sure that I have explained that to anybody else who might look at this chart. So I'm just going to say the film uses real traditions as inspiration, which honors the holiday. But obviously the title suggests that the answer isn't just yes. So I'm going to keep looking, and I'm going to go back to that part that we were just talking about. Here's the big question. Did Disney Pixar get it right? And this author has lots to say, right? What's the standard for right? Are we looking at indigenous traditions? Are we talking about what's happening now? Are we talking about in Mexico, what's happening in America now? But if we move on to the next paragraph where they stop asking questions about what it means to be right, it says, within Mexico, there are many regional and community-specific interpretations of this tradition. So that's like going from city to city and seeing that it looks different everywhere you go. And then it says the representation in Coco is a composite. So a composite is kind of a mixture, like a composition or a mixture. And so I'm thinking that if they're mixing a bunch of traditions, then it might not look genuine to anyone, because if they're mixing the types of things that are done in one city and the types of things that are done in another city, both cities are going to see incorrect elements. Okay, so I'm going to put that under my no column. So it says the representation, I ran out of room, in Coco is a composite. And then I'm going to refer back to that first sentence where it explains what it's a composite of many regional ... because I left out some words, interpretations of this tradition. And again, I've got to make sure that I explain, how does that say no? And I already said that, right? I already explained why I thought this quote says no, Disney Pixar did not get it right. Because I think by merging, I'm not going to literally say this, by merging many different cultures, the movie is less realistic and genuine. It is not entirely correct for anyone. Okay, so what I want you guys to do, you've already read this text, and I've showed you what we're doing today. I want you guys to look through the rest of this text, and I want you to add 4 pieces of evidence, right? So I'm not telling you which side that has to be on, but if you think the text is balanced, I would try to make it balanced. If you think it skews one way, I would try to make it skew that way on your chart as well. When you are done finding the evidence and explaining, like I did here, I want you to go ahead and answer the question, did Disney Pixar get Day of the Dead celebrations right in its new film, Coco? All right, go ahead and get to work.